Hello, thank you for joining us today for the Esri webinar on Manage Your Field Operations in Real Time. I'm Maria Lamas, Marketing Programs Lead at Esri, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. First, we're going to get started with some housekeeping. And so we're going to go through a few items here to enhance your webinar experience. We recommend that you close your email, instant messengers, and any other programs not currently in use because they may interfere with smooth reception of the webinar, causing slide buffering and poor sound quality. Also, we do have a survey. So if at any time that you leave the webinar, you will receive a pop-up window and we would like your feedback to improve webinar programming. We do recommend that you stay through the webinar so you can get all the content and ask questions at the end for anything you see. You can post your questions to the chat window. You should see that on your panel. We encourage you to ask questions if you see anything and are curious about anything. We will get to that at the Q&A at the end of the webinar. Also, we will have poll questions throughout the webinar. So we would like you to interact with us and give us your feedback. We do have questions for you. And this webinar is being recorded. It will be available online after the webinar, and you will receive an email with links to follow for that. So with that, let's get started. We want to welcome you. Today we have Jeff Shaner, Esri Product Manager. He leads our apps team and helps focus on developing the software applications and getting a lot of feedback. So we're really excited to have him here with us. So with that, Jeff, let's get started.
Thanks, Maria. So what I want to do today is start by providing you with an overview to Esri's ArcGIS Field Apps strategy, and then dive into a series of workflows that center around how you can take advantage of our apps for the field to make the most of your ArcGIS subscription. We'll focus on how your employees can capture critical infrastructure in the field, how you can enable contractors and subcontractors to capture additional street furniture, for example, or non-critical infrastructure. And throughout that field project lifecycle, improve operational awareness and bring that real-time update to your stakeholders. And we'll kind of end the session with an open Q&A. So let's jump into Esri's field app strategy and how they can streamline your project lifecycle. So within Esri, as part of our software development efforts, we're looking at the overall project lifecycle and what it means to take information that you have loaded into your ArcGIS subscription, plan your fieldwork activities, coordinate between the office and the field when it comes to the tasks that need to be done, when it comes to the work that needs to be accomplished. We have the ability to navigate you to the location of the work that needs to be completed so that you can get there in the most efficient way, and you're actually searching for and using your work as destinations for generating the routes that you need to navigate against. We have a couple of applications that help you locate and capture information in the field, and I'll show you a couple of those today. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can monitor what's happening in real time and provide that stakeholder view. So we're going to walk through a number of these applications today through the context of a set of workflows. But I wanted to step back first and say what's important from an AEC perspective. So with using our mobile technology as part of your overall project lifecycle, you can streamline field workflows. You can eliminate some of those paper processes. You can enable more people to take advantage of the smartphone and tablet technology that you use in your everyday life to improve productivity. And for those stakeholders, they can get a sense in real time of what's happening as the project progresses through its life cycle. In a lot of our engineering firms, they're serving public works, and we're going to focus in on that today. And ArcGIS apps help serve these public works organizations as well. Public works organizations can maintain an authoritative inventory of public assets, and you can use our field apps to not only collect and capture all that asset data if it doesn't already exist in your GIS, but you can also maintain that inventory by actually going out and doing routine inspections of it. When repairs happen to be able to update that information and do that all in real time. That keeps your inventory up to date, current with the latest information that's in the field, and make it as accurate as possible so you can make more informed decisions using it, and ultimately reduce the cost of your field operations and your maintenance activities by removing a lot of those redundant workflows that are more paper-based in nature. So we're going to stop there, and I'll pass it back to Maria to start with the first poll.
Thanks, Jeff. We do have a poll for you guys here. We would like to know how you are collecting data in the field. So whether that's paper, ArcGIS field apps, or other solutions. Jeff highlighted some of our ArcGIS field apps, so if you're using any of those, we'd like to know. We know there's other field solutions out there also. We're curious about those too, so if you want to post in the chat window or in the question dialog box of what those devices are, or if you're still using paper, we're curious about that too. So some of you are still responding here. It looks like the majority on this webinar are using ArcGIS field apps. We have over 60% using field apps. You are able to select more than one. So it looks like some folks are using a combination of them in between field apps with paper and other solutions. So thank you guys for participating. I'm going to close this poll. And for those of you who are using field apps, we're curious which ones you are using or have used in the past. We have Explorer, as Jeff shared, Collector, Survey 123, Navigator, and Workforce. So it seems like those who are using ArcGIS field apps, the majority, over 90%, are using Collector. Probably in combination with Survey 123, we have over 60% using Survey 123, and then others as well for Explorer, Navigator, and Workforce. So thank you all for participating. We'd love to get your feedback.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Maria.
No
So
problem.
it sounds like a lot of you are using our field apps today, which is great to hear. We're going to focus in first on a workflow that involves using Collector for ArcGIS, and that's for your own staff to go out and capture critical infrastructure. We'll look at it like this. Using the investment that you've made in ArcGIS, taking and creating maps as part of your organization, you can then take those same maps out to the field to collect that infrastructure data. Whether it didn't exist already, it's part of a new design project, or whether that data existed, maybe it came in from a CAD source or some other source, and you need to be able to ground truth the as-built information in reference to the design data that you might have loaded in. Or if that data is already there, it's accurate, and you're in a maintenance life cycle and you want to inspect that data. So by creating that information up front and leveraging ArcGIS and making maps, you then can just take those maps out to the field and use them with Collector. So let's take a look at what's involved in that. If you joined our previous webinar, you would have seen David Rees show you how you can take existing content using ArcGIS Pro and load it into your organization. Here we're looking at that same organization that was used in the last webinar. And what I'm going to do is, if I can get my mouse, is navigate to the group. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my mouse. There we go. Navigate to our groups, and you'll see that we have a group that is titled Manhattan Project Site. So in that last webinar, David loaded up some data in downtown Manhattan and created a project site utility map. Let's open that up in the map viewer so that you can see that information in the web map itself. So you can see our project location. You can see that David had loaded a lot of the infrastructure data. We've got the water utility network, we've got an electric network, we've got the sewer network, and we've got our project site location. All of that's available. We've got some labeling going on top of the map where we can see the hydrant information. Looks great. That information in this map we can then use inside a collector. So I'll move over to showing collector here. And what you're looking at is a brand new version of collector that isn't even yet released. This is the new collector that will come out at the end of this month, roughly early in November, and it has a different look and feel to it. One of the things I wanted to highlight is that you can see those labels on top of the map. There's that hydrant label right there. Now, with this collector application, we can see that same map that we were looking at in the web viewer. All the information, the infrastructure data is there and accessible for us. And collector lets you take advantage of location to capture new data. So you can see that we've got a GPS accuracy up at the top here of 1.6 feet. We can pair our device with external GPS receivers and get high accuracy positions so that when we're capturing data out in the field, it meets the accuracy requirements of our organization. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap the plus button on the bottom right, and on the water utility network, as we're out looking at data in the field, we notice that there's a ball valve missing. So I'm going to capture a new ball valve location using the GPS position, and then we can fill out some information about that actual ball valve, like the diameter, for example, and how many turns it takes to actually close that valve. So we can quickly capture the form information about our ball valve that was missing from the field and tap the submit button to send that data right back into our GIS system. Now, the other thing I mentioned that we can do with the collector application and these workflows around critical infrastructure is to update existing data in that kind of maintenance lifecycle. So I'm going to select this other ball valve here, and you'll notice that we can update that ball valve. So there's what we call a relationship to the ball valve with an inspections layer. So we can add a new inspection and we can fill out the form based upon the questions that are required of me to answer. And you can see that becomes a whole set of questions that we can walk through. We can take pictures if we want and capture the information and have that related to our asset that we're maintaining. And so I'll just hit submit on that as well. So not only can we capture new data in the field using the collector app with our maps that we've authored in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, we can update existing ones as well. All right, so I'm going to take us back to the slides and talk a little bit just about collector in general. It sounds like most of you are using collector today, so I won't spend a lot of time in the basics, but I did want to highlight that Collector is founded upon the principles of a web map, and the web map is that content that you author inside of your organization. And you can load data in to use with Collector from a variety of different sources. We didn't show you this today, but you can take Collector and your map content and take it offline and use it in areas where there's no internet connectivity, and then synchronize those changes when you're either back in the office or in range of network connectivity itself. We can pair Collector with high accuracy GNSS receivers to improve the locational accuracy. And as far as the form itself, it's based upon the way that you author and publish data. So you can add intelligence into the data itself, and that intelligence kind of just ripples through in the mobile application. I showed you an app, Collector app that's coming new at the end of October, early in November on the Apple App Store, but we also have a Collector available on Google Play for Android users and on the Windows Store for Windows 10 users as well. All right, so let's move on to the second workflow, and that's about enabling your contractors or subcontractors to be able to capture non-critical infrastructure data. And in this instance, we're going to use two additional applications. We're going to use Workforce for ArcGIS, and we're going to use Survey123 for ArcGIS. With your contractors, what you can do is create a group like we have with our Manhattan project site and invite them into your organization. So perhaps they're already existing ArcGIS users. They have their own organization. Their accounts can just be added into the group, and then you can provide access to the maps and the survey forms and also manage their work using workforce projects. So within Workforce, you can organize the task, the specific work that you want them to do. You can assign work to those individual contractors, and they can use Survey123 to go and complete that work. So let's flip back over to my mobile device again, and I'll show you how that's done. So here we are in the Workforce for ArcGIS application, and I'm assuming that role of the contractor that's been given work to do. At our project site, there's a number of things that we'd like to identify before starting construction. We're looking for any street furniture, any trees that might obstruct the view of the new property that we're building and whatnot. So you can see my current location right here on the actual property adjacent to our project site. And you can see that I've got a number of assignments that are nearby. And the one at the top of the list I'm 10 feet away from. If I tap on that, you can see it's a task that's related to tree obstructions. So it's asking me to identify trees that either are protected or we need to remove, and capture that information using Survey123. So I'm going to start this assignment. When you start an assignment using Workforce, there's actually a date timestamp associated with it too. So as the operations supervisor that's managing these contractors, not only can I see the work they've done, but I know how long it has taken to get that work completed. You might have noticed that as I changed the status of the assignment, it turned green right underneath my current location. That change in status is also broadcasted back, if you're connected to the internet, that is, so that the supervisor can actually see that change in status, either in their dashboard or as they're dispatching additional work. Now, from this action button inside of Workforce, I can tap on Survey at Assignment. And what that'll do is launch the Survey123 application so that I can capture information about the trees that I've encountered. And you can see it brings a form up automatically for me. It sets my location as well. And now I really just need to fill out the form that's presented to me. The first thing that I want to do is actually take a picture. I've got pictures that are in my camera roll, and I'm just going to grab one of the tree itself so that I can attach it. Clearly, I'm not in Manhattan right now, so I'm just going to capture a picture from my photo roll. And then I need to set the infrastructure type to tree. I can give indication of the species. I'm going to say it's an oak tree. I'm going to say that it's 10 feet tall. And I can say that there is a little picket fence around it. Now we could have used the Siri integration if we wanted to enter that information too. And I'll say that no, it's a really lovely tree. We actually want it to stay in place, so we want to keep that as part of the project work that's going on. So when I've completed my form, I can then choose to send that now or send it later. I'm going to send it right now because we do have internet connectivity. And that new inspection that I've just done of the tree location is sent automatically back to ArcGIS Online. And the last thing that I really need to do is complete my work assignment. I can add notes, I could take photos about the work if I'd like as well inside of the assignment details, but I'm just going to tap finish. So now we've taken you through the process of how you can assign work to your contractor, receive that work, and go off and complete it using Survey 123 and Workforce for ArcGIS. The last thing we wanted to do is kind of in this section is talk about those two apps you just saw. So Workforce for ArcGIS is another one of our field applications, and it's really focused around coordinating the field work that you need to do. That field work could be accomplished using Survey 123, it could be accomplished using Collector, it could be accomplished using an Explorer application if you just want to visualize your asset data and perhaps redline on top of the map and share those redlines as well. With Workforce, there's a web component that I haven't shown you today that lets you plan and coordinate your field work. You can either manually create those assignments and assign them to different contractors or field workers, or you could load them. We have a set of Python scripts that let you load those assignments. So if you wanted to, you could actually integrate Workforce with your work management systems that you have in place. Workforce is aware of your current location. It knows where you are. It knows your identity. And it also has a breadcrumb trail of where you've been. So you can actually associate the proof of work that's being accomplished each day with the worker and their locations that they did the work in. And then you can add these integrations with our other apps. So you can manage these field assignments where it remotely controls either Survey 123 like you saw earlier, or it remotely controls Collector for ArcGIS. All right, Survey 123. Survey 123 is a form-centric data collection app. You saw me fill out a tree collection form. It's based upon this smart form technology, so you can, in their Survey 123 website, author a form that has conditional visibility, has a lot of wonderful form logic to it, and then deploy that through your organization or externally to the contractors in the form of this mobile application or through a web form if you'd like. So they can capture data in the field. And then it does also have its own back office web application that you can use to analyze and share the results. Both Workforce and Survey123 are available on iOS, like I showed you today, but also on Google Play. With Survey123, it's also available on Windows 10, but Workforce is not built for Windows 10 yet. So the last thing I wanted to talk about and show you today in this webinar is how you can improve overall operational awareness using the operations dashboard for ArcGIS application. So with operations dashboard, you can monitor your field work as it's happening. The operations dashboard app works with those same web maps and can be responsive to change as it's happening in the field in real time. Or it can work with summary data. So if you wanted to create a summary view, maybe of the overall planned project work or capital improvement projects that are going on within your organization, then you can use the operations dashboard for that. So as data is changing in the field, you can see those updates, or you can create those summary views and display the KPIs, the key performance indicators that are most important to your stakeholders. All right, so let's take a quick look at the operations dashboard app. So here we have a project site infrastructure management dashboard that brings together not only the map that you saw earlier that we used to capture critical infrastructure, but it also brings together the elements of the workforce project. So we know what work was assigned and its status, as well as the non-critical infrastructure data that was captured with Survey123. So in the top left, you can see a couple of lists. There's the list of the street furniture that's been captured. There's the list of the tree data that was captured. And you might notice right here, that's the oak tree that I just captured using Survey123. If we click on it, it highlights that location on the map, and it will show us not only the information that we captured, but also the photo that was attached to it as well. So we can get that information as it's coming in. We also can create pie charts or donut charts, as you see in this case, that show the overall work status. So you can get just from a glimpse, how much work is left to be done, how much work has been completed. We could break that down and look at how much work is left to do, how much work might be in progress, and how much work has been completed. And within the dashboard, I could either do that as I pan around on the map so that it's responsive to what I'm currently viewing, or it could be based upon all of the information that we have for the project itself. We've also created a gauge here. This gauge is showing the progress. So we're saying that there needs to be at least 7 valve inspections completed in a day. And today we've got 4 that have been completed. So we can set thresholds, which we haven't really done much of here, but we just can see the overall progress and whether we're meeting our mark of 7 each day. And then likewise, we can tap on each of the valves that we've either created or that have been inspected and get their information as well. So with Operations Dashboard as a key application in the overall project lifecycle workflow, you can provide this to the operations supervisors to kind of visualize that work that's happening in real time. Okay, so just to kind of summarize Operations Dashboard, it's really designed to help you make decisions at a glance. It's for that stakeholder or for that decision maker that needs to provide or needs to have access to a common view of what's going on in their organization. And that can be in real time. It can be designed so that it fits on a laptop screen, or on a tablet or on a phone, or perhaps in an operations center in an unattended way where you're just looking at a big screen and that data is changing and updating for you, and you're visualizing that feedback and that change over time. It's included as part of the ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise organizations that you have, so that you can just take maps or layers and create these dashboard items inside of your organization really easily. It comes with a set of ready-to-use visualizations, all things from the indicators that you see here in the dashboard showing statistics on accident counts perhaps, or it includes visualizations like serial charts, so you have the ability to do bar and line charts as well with the dashboard. Obviously, there's a mapping component, and you can generate lists and details of all of the content that's stored inside of your data. Not to mention, like in this example here, you can tap into live feeds, whether that be CCTV cameras that have a location and are updating at a set frequency, or whether they be real-time video that's progressing throughout the project site. The dashboard itself lets you author these visualizations into the dashboard web application itself, and you can organize and stack them based upon who you're delivering that dashboard to and what form factor they're going to use. So you can build very rich and interactive dashboards that bring together the content that's required for the specific task that you want it to perform quite easily. And then that dashboard could either be shared specifically with your stakeholders or with the supervisors. It could be shared to everyone in the organization, or as we've seen from a number of our customers, out to the public as well. Maria?
Great, thanks, Jeff. That was a great summary of operations dashboard. So we do have a poll around that. Is anyone on the webinar today using operations dashboard? I love the examples you showed, Jeff. It's great to see how you can pull all the data together and get a common operating view of the project activities in one way. So we do have a 50-50, it looks like, of people using operations dashboard, and the rest are not. So hopefully after this, you guys will be able to take away some tips to start using that and pulling your data together. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. It looks like most of you responded. I have one more for the audience. I'm going to launch that here. So if you like what you saw today around mobile workflows, we do have materials that we could send you so you can get your, so you can start administrating that and getting that set up. So if you would like some resources, feel free to post there that you would like to receive that. We'd love to get you up and running. So if you need any help, we are happy to help you. All right, so thank you for responding. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. Over 80% of you would like resources, so good, we're excited. Back to you, Jeff.
Cool. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and just kind of summarize this up, is that we focused today on ArcGIS being used in the field. And as you can see, there's a number of ways that you can pair apps together through the project lifecycle. Workforce is really about that coordination between the office and the field. Collector and Survey 123 are designed to help you capture information as you're out doing your data collection or data inventory projects, or as you're maintaining existing infrastructure. We didn't really focus a lot on Navigator at all. Navigator is really designed to help you get to that right location, and it integrates with all of these other apps as well. And so in this overall life cycle, you can take advantage of pairing apps together based upon the workflows that are required. Uh, our first workflow we started with was really just a pairing of ArcGIS Online and Collector to capture critical infrastructure. And it actually started in the previous webinar where data was loaded from other applications. That could be uh, from Esri's apps for the office, or it could be from ArcGIS Pro, as David showed, where you're loading content directly into your organization, making maps, and then taking it out to the field. Um, then we showed you how you can enable the contractors or subcontractors, taking advantage again of that content that was authored and created and published to ArcGIS Online, and wrapping it inside of a workforce project so that we can define a list of assignment types for capturing non-critical infrastructure data, and then integrate the Survey 123 application into it so that as a subcontractor, I could open up the workforce application on my mobile device, see my to-do list, the work that needed to be done today, and accomplish that work using Survey 123. All of this data then feeds into our ArcGIS organization. And we can improve our operational awareness by taking advantage of that data seamlessly coming in to the platform. And the way we did that was using Operations Dashboard, because the app is designed specifically for monitoring change that happens in real time. But also you can create other web applications if you want. For example, if you use Web App Builder as your standard platform for distributing web applications within your organization, you could use it to provide that operational awareness as well, because all of the data that's coming from the field is feeding back into your organization, so you can take advantage of it with any of the web applications that we have as part of the system. All right, so hopefully that provides a good summary of how you can leverage ArcGIS apps in the field to complete the project lifecycle. And with that, I think we want to open it up. We've got lots of time remaining for Q&A.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so let's get started. We have several questions that the audience posted throughout the webinar. Also, for those of you on the line, we encourage you to post any additional questions that you may have. We'll get started with the first one coming from Bill. He would like to know if laser rangefinders for offsets to unsafe locations are available with our mobile app.
That's a great question. Thank you, Bill. So with the last release of Collector for ArcGIS, we introduced laser offsetting through the context of a partner, two partners that we worked with. EOS positioning for the use of location, and also for the workflow for capturing data with laser, and also with laser tech, so that you can use their rangefinders. Now, if you search for the EOS and LaserTech integration with Collector, you'll find that there are a set of videos out there that show some of the ways that we've integrated data capture. For example, perhaps you need to capture the location of a manhole that's in the middle of a street intersection. To do that today, you'd have to work with your local city, you'd have to close down that intersection, you'd have to plan ahead, you'd have to put out mailings potentially. It takes a lot of time, it costs a lot of money to do that. Using this integration, you can do effectively what's called a range intersect form of collection, where you could stand at one curb using the laser rangefinder, turning an angle, shoot the location of the manhole that's in the middle of the street, walk to another street corner, do the same, and then accurately capture the position of the manhole. We've got 3 other methods that have been included in this partnership with them. One is just the simple laser offset that I think you're interested in. But the others involve actually not relying on the compass that's included inside of your smartphone, but using an external compass to make that process work. As we move forward with Collector and the new versions that are coming as part of the work we're doing early next year, we plan to include offsets directly inside of the application and working with vendors like LTI to bring that to life so that it's more integrated and you can use it with a wide variety of GNSS receivers. And we'd love to get your feedback. So if you're willing to kind of join our beta program for Collector or contact us afterwards, we'd like to hear more on your needs.
Great, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
We do have a couple of people in the audience that are using SAP and for maintaining their asset master data, and they're curious if any ArcGIS field apps can be used to integrate with SAP for collection data.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. With SAP integration for work management, the way that you can look at integrating with our field apps is potentially through Workforce for ArcGIS. So you will have to work on how to do that ETL from SAP into Workforce, but we provide the schema of a workforce project and our assignment schema. We have a lot of customers that are loading work assignments directly from third-party work management systems like SAP or IBM Maximo, or in the water utility market a lot from Hansen as well. So we provide the schema for you. We show you how you can programmatically load content into the assignment schema. We also have included Workforce as a module within the ArcGIS API for Python, so that simplifies the process for you. But we do not have direct plugins or integration points into SAP.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, for that.
Yep.
For additional questions, can you speak to credit consumption using these apps?
Sure, yeah. So that's asked quite often. You know, how does the ArcGIS field apps consume credits, or what's the licensing model around them? We didn't really talk about that too much. With all of the applications that we showed you today, first off, they require a level 2 named user account. So they're creating content, they're data creators or editors, and we need that identity to know who's actually editing what. So kind of just to set the stage on the user requirement, it does require a level 2 named user to create work assignments for Workforce, to collect data with Collector, to capture form data with Survey 123. The only exception on that is Operations Dashboard. As a viewer, a level 1 named user, or anonymously, if the dashboard is shared publicly, you can view dashboards with a lower level of licensing. Now, when it comes to the credit consumption, we're not consuming credits in any way within the applications other than where premium services may be used. So if, for example, you have licensed premium data that is being used through the Living Atlas per se, then as you start to consume that in your dashboards, on your mobile apps, that can can actually consume credits. The other thing is that as you're capturing data, those features are basically can be stored inside of hosted feature services. And in that instance, there's the feature credit costs that are associated with that data. I should also point out that if you're capturing photos, those photos that you capture are not considered features as far as the feature credit costs go. They're considered file costs because we actually store them separate of the database itself, so we can reduce the cost of that. All of that is documented within our system requirements on our documentation website, so you can learn more by looking at the documentation sites. And it's also available inside the ArcGIS online doc.
Great, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
A couple more questions that have came in. Let's dive into operations dashboard a little bit. We had several questions around that. If you can elaborate on the workflow for operations dashboard in the ArcGIS online platform and when enterprise would be needed.
Okay, yeah. So the way that Operations Dashboard works is that it itself is a web app that's included either in ArcGIS Online or in ArcGIS Enterprise. With ArcGIS Enterprise, a little sticking point is that it was included with version 10.6.1. That's when we launched the dashboard web application as fully integrated in the platform. If you were using it with version 10.6, there was a separate installer that you needed to grab, download, and essentially add the web application to your portal in order to use it. If you've got previous versions, the new web application of ArcGIS Enterprise, the web application's not available to you. Now, as far as getting started goes, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. Using the application switcher, and I'll just kind of go back over to our portal, for example, and go to the content view. This app switcher that you'll see appear next to our username lets you launch applications. One of them is Operations Dashboard. So from this page itself, you could create new dashboards. You can open up shared dashboards that others have created. That's what I did in this instance. So if I want to start from scratch, I can do that. And I can actually just browse for layers if I want and use those layers directly. I don't have to have a map in my dashboard. The other way that I could do it is that I could start from within the map itself. So if I want to come back to my content, let's just go back to the map that we had open. And if I click share, I can create a web application using the operations dashboard, and it will launch the configuration experience of operations dashboard, automatically create a map element for me that I can then go as a starting point and add my other visualizations to.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff. A couple more questions around operations dashboard. Would you be able to show estimate project completion dates within ops dashboard to have that capability?
Yeah, so one of the things that Operations Dashboard includes is a set of interactive selectors. And it takes advantage of date fields that are within your data. So say I wanted to look at the estimated project completion date, I could filter a layer based upon a date time field that was stored with that feature layer that is associated with the project completion date. And it would filter our entire dashboard potentially with what's been completed to that date. So you can either leverage, actual dates within your dashboards, or you could use relative time queries within the dashboard as well.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Another question around operations dashboard. We have Tiffany asking if the dashboard can be configured to report information from one data set based on the spatial representation of another. For example, acres of shrub by county.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I like being a little bit interactive here. Let's
Yeah.
see if I can get my mouse back. My mouse doesn't want to work well. But the way that the dashboard, here we go. I am going to open up a dashboard that our team has created. That's an interactive dashboard for crime data in the city of Philadelphia. And let's just take a quick look at it, because you can see that the crime data as it loads in is all throughout the city, but we can zero in with this dashboard and look at a specific police district or division. So if I wanted to look at the central division, I can use the polygon geometry for that police division to filter all of the other layer content. You can see now only the crime data within that actual geometry, that polygon geometry, which happens to be a district, just like you have a county, Tiffany, then everything can respond to that. The bar charts, the donut charts, the lists, everything. So yes, you can filter your content spatially if you have that layer as part of the map that you want to use within your dashboard.
Pretty neat. Thanks, Jeff.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple more questions. We can talk about collector now. We do have some questions from collector. I know you showed that earlier in the webinar. So you mentioned there was going to be a new release on update. This person, Dwayne, is asking if what the release timeline for the collector update on Android and Windows is.
Yeah, good question. So we have been building this new iteration of Collector. That's what I wanted to showcase for you today, and you saw it on my iPad. We've kind of codenamed it the Aurora project, because when we go to release this new version of Collector, we're going to do it side by side with the version that's in the store today. We're actually creating a whole other listing for it. And when we release the iOS version of it, roughly the end of this month, early next month, we're starting certification right away. We'll update the version that's in the store. It will actually be renamed to Classic on your device, and the new version will just have it'll assume the title of Collector. Now we're going to do that same process on Android as well. We have an update with the existing, I'll refer to it as Classic version, that's going to happen this month with a few critical bug fixes. And we're also in beta with the new Aurora version of it as well. So if you want to join our beta program, it's available as well. And you can just email collectorbeta@esri.com to join that beta program. With the Android version, we are looking at a release in Q1 of next year. And at that point in time, we're going to start our development on the Windows 10 version. So you'll see the staggered appearance of the new Collector experience coming platform by platform over time, and we'll just keep the Classic version available in the store till we reach all three platforms.
Great, thanks, Jeff. That's exciting.
Yeah.
A specific question around Collector: is there a snapping tool available in Collector now?
The question about snapping is an interesting one. We have not included snapping in this new version of Collector yet. It's been high on our list, and that's one of the new pieces of functionality that we wanted to dive into first with the iOS version later this fall. Our focus with this update that we're providing first is to get, kind of that functional equivalency that we had with the previous version. Our goal has been to jump on top of the latest mapping engine that we have in our ArcGIS runtime SDKs. And that's what the focus of this first update has been. Once we're done with that, well, and also a refresh of the user experience. Once we're done with that, the primary enhancements that we're working on next include snapping, include offsets, include the bulk update of attribute information. And one other that is a bit of a kind of a broader development piece of work is bringing smart forms into Collector. So we're working with the online team, ArcGIS Online development team, as well as our ArcGIS Pro team on how we can bring smart forms into layers so that we can have conditional visibility, we can have the grouping of known related attributes together, we can have the ability to spatially inherit locations from one layer or locations and attributes from one layer into another, and much more, and plumb that into the system as a whole so that not only can Collector take advantage of it, but so can Pro and so can web applications. It's an exciting piece of work that will take us, into probably early to mid 2019 to accomplish. But when we get there, it'll be pretty exciting.
That is exciting. That was my next question. That was a question coming in from Steve. So there you have it, Steve. Mid-2019, we should be able to see an update on smartphone.
Yeah. And I would add that, we're going to keep our beta program going even after we shut down and release this first iOS update. So if you want to join us, or if you haven't already, please do, because as we start to progress with smart forms, as we start to progress with snapping and other functional bits, we're going to be doing test flight beta updates quite frequently this fall.
Very good. Okay, so we do have a couple of questions around Survey 123. So I'll ask a couple of those, and then we are running up to our time. So we want to make sure you guys get back to what you need to do in your offices, wherever you may be. So around Survey 123, we have a question coming in from Marlon asking that if once you submit information into Survey 123, can you go back into the field and edit the entry on your smart device without losing anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. Survey 123 has the concept of an inbox. So you would have to create another survey form, but you can configure the inbox capabilities to essentially query the features that are been created or in your feature layer view, and it'll bring those in as a list inside of Survey 123 so that you can update those features. I would recommend having an attribute on the survey form that has its status information so that you can use that as the field to generate the query from. There's a really good instructional video on YouTube if you want to just Google for it, or if you go to the Survey 123 website, that'll show you how to leverage the inbox and update existing features.
Alrighty, thanks, Jeff. Another question, we have Santino asking how they would go about integrating RFID tag data with their GIS data using Survey 123.
That's a good one as well. We have not worked with RFID data yet. Now, RFID readers require API integration, and it is something that's in the roadmap for for survey and for collector, but hasn't been implemented yet. We do support barcodes and QR codes, but we haven't gotten to submitting for supporting either passive or active RFID tags.
Okay, very good. We are at the hour, so we'll go ahead and move to our final slides here. We want to remind you that this webinar is part of a webinar series. So if you want to sign up for our next one, we're going to be talking about streamlining and collaboration. That'll be next month. So you can head over to this link at go.esri.com/improving-project-lifecycle. And also on this page, you will have access to this webinar and our previous webinar from this series. So I would recommend bookmarking that and sharing that with your colleagues. And with that, we want to thank you for joining us today. Again, you will receive an email with a link to the recording within a few days after this webinar. So thank you all again for joining us. Jeff, thank you for showing us ArcGIS Field Apps today. And we hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.